for a quick of our Torah. In this week's Parsha is basically about laws. It's a very dry Parsha. How do you behave? What happened? It deals with torts. It deals with property. There's, nothing's really seemingly spiritual about it. Very intellectual. However, in the middle, one of the interesting things is it brings up Shabbat, which sort of seems out of place. In reality, it's not out of place, because what the Torah is coming to tell you is without Shabbat, then nothing else matters. It's sort of like the civil laws in this week's Parsha buttress the spiritual concepts. And the spiritual concepts buttress the civil law, that this is reminding us that these civil laws, though they seem to be very logical, that a society would come to them automatically, we have to remember they're from God. A early Zionist leader by the name of went by the name of Ahad Ha'am. He was a cultural Jew. He was not a religious Jew, but he made a comment that was very interesting. He said, more than the Jews have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews. Meaning without Shabbat being at the center of everything would fall away. And the same thing with this week's Parsha, with Shabbat in the middle of these laws. To remind us there's an important aspect here, to remind us that all these laws come from God. And it's something that we always have to consider. Second, that, it's, if you will, Shabbat limits your powers. Everybody is equal. Everybody's equal in Shabbat. In the ancient world, slaves did not know from rest. Period. That they would work, they'd work their animals, etc. Shabbat comes along and says, no, your slaves get the day off. Everybody gets this day off, even your animals. And the idea is, like you say, wait a minute, the animal doesn't know from one day to the other. It's an animal. But it's to teach you something important, that this is a day of rest. If you don't let your slaves or your animals rest, you will not get rest. Many years ago, I worked for a very religious guy, and he invited me to his Friday night meal. And he said, it's one condition. If you bring up work, then don't bother to come in on Monday. This is the one day of the week that I set aside to remember why I have a business, to support my family. And this is something that the Torah is coming to teach us. It's like, if you look at the Tehillim that we say before we do Baruch Hu on Friday night, Mizmor Shel Yom Shabbat. And it has a great title, that this is a song in praise of Shabbat. And then Shabbat is not mentioned in the rest of the psalm. It's like, David, did you forget something here? You got a great title, doesn't seem to match what you're writing. But the answer is simple. This is to remind you what Shabbat is really about. That it's about family, it's about resting, it's about reconnecting to God. And that's why the Torah specifically puts Shabbat in the middle of Parshat Mishpatim. To remind us, yes, we have these great laws, but remember there's also a spiritual aspect to all these things. So that's a quick of our Torah, something to think about.